Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. I'm very excited for today's mock draft. This is 3.0. If you're new to the channel, I have two other mock drafts out. Basically, just as the college football season goes on and the NFL season goes on, I reevaluate every 1 or 2 weeks, and for the fun of it, just make a mock draft. And I really enjoy this whole process. It's a lot of fun. So let's get right into it. But first, I wanted to actually mention the order. The order is what the current order was last week. So and I think I adjusted the first like 5 or 10 for this week, but it's not like perfect. But don't focus on the order; just focus on the picks. Is what I'm going to say before we jump into it. But without further ado, let's get started. So with the first overall pick, I have the Cincinnati Bengals, who are defeated at this point. They haven't gotten a single win this season, getting their quarterback of the future. After that game that I saw on Sunday, the Bengals playing the Ravens, obviously Ryan Finley isn't the answer, and they've already benched Andy Dalton, so it would just not make sense for them to go back to him. And then the game that I saw on Saturday proved to me that Joe Burrow is the real deal. This guy can sling it, clutch drive after clutch drive, clutch pass after perfect pass. He is just so good, so talented, and he really does deserve to be the number one overall pick. I think he's going to win the Heisman, and I think he's going to be picked by the Bengals. I think it's a match made in heaven. I think he'll do really good stuff in Cincinnati. With the second overall pick, it's clear that Trent Williams is not returning to Washington, so why not get your left tackle of the future, Andrew Thomas, to protect that blind side of Dwayne Haskins or whoever is going to be throwing the ball in Washington for years to come. Andrew Thomas is a very talented offensive tackle. Really like what I see out of him so far. A great pass blocker, and he can also create outside lanes for outside runs. So I think the Redskins are going to really be able to utilize this guy and get their offensive tackle of the future. With the third overall pick, I'm sticking with tank for Tua to the Dolphins. It just makes sense at this point. And Tua Tagovailoa had a very tough game versus LSU in that first half. And then in the second half, he kind of eased into it. He hadn't played for 2 weeks. He still had a hurt ankle, and he slung that ball. I think he put up like 400 total yards versus LSU, and he played very well. Obviously, his receivers are a very talented group, and I think that makes him look a little overrated. But he's still a great passer, and I really and I really think he deserves to be drafted here in the top 10. And I think he'll be a good fit for Miami. And that leaves Chase Young to the New York Jets, probably the best player in this class. The top three teams just have different needs for me. I could see the Dolphins drafting Chase Young, but I think if you're rebuilding a franchise, getting your quarterback of the future is the most important piece. And then the Redskins, I've heard Chase Young around, but I just can't see them going any other direction than offensive tackle at this point. They need some sort of offensive lineman, especially since Trent Williams is going to be returning to the team next year. So I think Chase Young is going to fall to 4 or wherever uh, those top three team or wherever the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Redskins don't pick. I think that Chase Young is going to fall to the next team, and I think he's going to be a perfect fit in New York. Leonard Williams is gone, so obviously they need some sort of pass rush here. And I think Chase Young is a generational talent. He's so good. 13 and a half sacks, and I think it was like 8 games. Now he is suspended, and people are saying that's going to hurt his stock. I disagree with that. I think it's going to help it even more. This prevents injuries throughout the rest of the season, and if he comes back, then he'll keep playing how he plays. But if he has to sit out, um, then he's gonna not get injured. He's gonna ball out at the combine, and teams are gonna remember how good he is. He has enough game film from this year to go top 5. I mean, Nick Bosa didn't play the entire last year, and he got drafted top 3. So I think it goes to show how good Ohio State pass rushers are, and I think Chase has the chance to be even better than Nick. So they're really producing some serious talent at that edge position. With the fifth pick, if Chase Young is off the board, I think the Giants are going to have to go with Jerry Jeudy, probably the cleanest route runner I've ever seen. It's so much fun to watch this guy. He has great hands, great ball skills. And like I said, the route running is just fantastic. Best route runner in college football, undisputed. So I really like this Jeudy to the Giants pick. Darius Slayton is playing very well. Sterling Shepard's obviously good, but getting Jeudy over there in New York, getting Daniel Jones a serious, big time, consistent receiving threat is going to be really good for his game. So I really like this match of Jeudy going to the Giants. With the 6th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons getting their edge rusher, AJ Epineza, out of Iowa. I really like this pick. That Falcons defensive line is good at the moment. They have Takk McKinley and they have Grady Jarrett. However, getting or pairing those guys with Epineza would make this defensive line ridiculous. Really give them consistent pressure on the quarterback, something that's been missing in that Atlanta defense, and that's why they're struggling so much this year. So I really think this could be the key piece to this defense. Bring them back to that Super Bowl tier. The offense is there with Julio, Devontae Freeman, Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley. It's such a talented team. If they can get Keanu Neal back healthy for next year with the addition of AJ Epineza, get some consistent pass rush, I really think the Falcons can elevate their game. With the 7th overall pick, if Tua and Burrow are off the board, I don't see Jameis Winston returning to Tampa Bay next year. So, like I said, if Tua and Burrow are off the board, I think Herbert is going to fall right into Bruce Arians' lap. People call him the quarterback whisperer. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do think he's very good with quarterbacks, and I think Herbert's going to fit perfectly in his scheme. Already has two great wide receiver threats to throw to, whether it's Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, and then if they start utilizing OJ Howard maybe next year, then Herbert's going to have three serious guys where he can just fling the rock to, and I think he'll be a good fit in Tampa Bay. I think, like I said, he'll get along well with Bruce Arians. He'll coach him up, and I think this is a really good match. With the 8th overall pick, if Tristan Wirfs drops this far, no way the Broncos don't pick him. The Broncos are atrocious at offensive line right now. Garrett Bowles is probably the worst first-round pick in NFL history. Tristan Wirfs is no Garrett Bowles. Plays Big Ten edge rushers, and that's a really hard thing to do. And he plays them very well. Goes head-to-head versus some of the best edge rushers in college football. So I really like Wirfs. What he's put on tape so far is fantastic, and I think he'll be a really good fit for Denver to try to protect Drew Lock next year. With the 9th overall pick, I have Grant Delpit, the safety from LSU, going to the Cleveland Browns. That Cleveland secondary will be ridiculous with Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams back healthy, and then the addition of Grant Delpit will really make this one of the youngest and scariest groups in the NFL. Really elevate that Cleveland defense, and I think this pick is perfect for Cleveland. With the 10th overall pick, I have Isaiah Simmons going to the Las Vegas Raiders. I have him listed here as a linebacker. He also plays strong safety. So if you want to slide, of course, now I'm forgetting his name, Carla Joseph, over to free safety and play Isaiah Simmons at strong safety for sometimes, or just that box linebacker role. Either way, that's going to work for Oakland. They really need someone to play the middle of the field with range and speed, and that's what Isaiah Simmons brings to the table. Also a great run stopper. So I think he'll be fit in perfectly in Oakland. With the 11th overall pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals getting their center guard of the future. This guy's very versatile. Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin can play both those positions. Not really a great tackle, but their tackle situation isn't terrible in Arizona. So I really think they just need that interior offensive line to really boost this O-line as a group. Protect Kyler Murray, open up running lanes for David Johnson next year. So I think Biadasz is a good pick for Arizona. With the 12th overall pick, I have the Detroit Lions getting Darius Slay's replacement or counterpart, depending on what they decide to do with him this offseason. There was trade rumors at the deadline, so they might trade him in the offseason. We'll see how that goes. Regardless, Slay's getting old, and Jeffrey Okudah is fantastic. Great ball skills, really good in man-to-man coverage. Really like him, so talented. The next Denzel Ward, if you ask me. And I think the Lions are going to find a gem in this guy. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Jaguars getting their Jalen Ramsey replacement, Christian Fulton out of LSU. Another guy who's has great ball skills. His man-to-man coverage isn't as good as Oku does, but he's really good in zone. So I know the Jaguars tend to play man-to-man, but if they want to change up their scheme, Bouye is still there, and they have a really talented secondary, and I think they're just missing a key piece of Jalen Ramsey, obviously, after he was traded away. So try to replace him with Fulton. Obviously, he's no Jalen Ramsey, but he's still a great cornerback and can come into the role and be a leader on this Jaguars defense. With the 14th overall pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers getting their cornerback of the future, Trayvon Diggs. bottom line is the Chargers secondary has gotten shredded this season by almost all teams, and they really need some serious help back there. And Trayvon Diggs is fantastic. Love what I saw out of him in that LSU game last weekend, and just a really talented player. I think he'll fit in perfectly in Los Angeles, and I think he'll have a great NFL career. With the 15th overall pick, I'm mocking this as if the Titans are going to get someone in the offseason to replace Marcus Mariota, or even if Tannehill continues to play very well, maybe they stick with him. Obviously, Mariota is not their guy, but there's a lot of speculation that Cam Newton might be traded. So does he go to Tennessee? There's speculation that Phillip Rivers won't be returning to Los Angeles. So does he go to Tennessee? So there's a lot of quarterbacks circulating in the offseason that could land in Tennessee. So I don't have them. I'm not mocking them to pick a quarterback. That all being said, they really need some interior defensive line help. They obviously have Jarrell Casey on that edge and two really good young linebackers. So just why not get that defensive tackle and get some interior pressure on the quarterback and a great run stopper in Derrick Brown from Auburn. Like I said, he's a pass rusher. He's a run stopper, all-around versatile player, and I really like this pick for the Titans. With the 16th overall pick, I have the Eagles getting Paulson Adebo. Bottom line, the Eagles don't have a good cornerback, and Paulson Adebo is a good cornerback. So it seems like a match made in heaven. Great ball skills, plays man-to-man and zone very well, and I think it's a good pick for the Eagles. With the 17th overall pick, I have the Raiders getting their wide receiver of the future, CeeDee Lamb, out of Oklahoma. This man can do it all. He's great in the slot. He can run those short routes, slants over the middle of the field, but he's also a deep burner, deep post, deep ends, and then, of course, the fly route. He runs them all very well. So I think he's a perfect fit for Derek Carr, who, likes the deep ball, but really is lacking it since the loss of Amari. And CD has great hands as well, so they won't have those dropping problems that Amari had at Oakland, but doesn't seem to be having in Dallas. Now, I can already read the comments. Are you kidding me? Who is this guy? Boise State, Curtis Weaver. There's so many better edge rushers. Why would the Dolphins get Curtis Weaver? But I was looking at stats, and this is just a pure stats move. And I know he doesn't play the best offensive lineman in his conference, the MAC West. However, he has racked up the second most sacks this season behind Chase Young. He's already at 12.5 in, I believe, 10 or 9 games. He racked up 9.5 last year and didn't play 3 games, and he racked up 11 in his freshman season. This guy is just talented, does it day in and day out. The stats are consistent. He's top 5 in tackles for loss this year, top 2 in sacks. He's just so talented. Really big fan of Curtis Weaver, and I do expect his stock to continue rising throughout the season. I feel like it was really high last year and then kind of fell off at the start of the season, but I feel like it's on the rise again, and I really like this pick for the Dolphins. They obviously need some sort of edge rusher. I really like some of the pieces that they have in on that Dolphins defense, whether it's Jerome Baker or Raekwon McMillan. They just need that edge rusher, and I think Curtis Weaver is that guy. With the 19th overall pick, I have the Panthers getting Creed Humphrey, and I have him listed as interior offensive lineman because he can really play both guard and center, very versatile. And I really like this guy. Great run blocker and even a good pass blocker. And the Panthers really need some guy to open up those running lanes on those inside handoffs to Christian McCaffrey. And I think Creed Humphrey's their guy. Really like this pick, and I think he'll be a really good fit in Carolina. With the 20th overall pick from the Rams, the Jaguars have this one, and I have them getting Henry Ruggs, the third wide receiver out of Alabama. Super talented. Another guy like CeeDee, who's a great route runner, loves those slant patterns in Alabama, and is also another deep runner. He can run those fly routes as well. So I think this is going to be a good fit for Nick Foles or Gardner Minshew, whoever's throwing the ball. I'm guessing it's going to be Nick Foles next year. But I really like this pick, and Henry Ruggs is just so talented. Really see his stock rising. Might even become a top 15 pick by draft time. So big fan of his. With the 21st overall pick, I have the Cowboys getting a really key piece of their defense here. Their defense has obviously been very good. DeMarcus Lawrence rushing the edge. 2 great linebackers, one being Leighton Vander Esch from Boise State. You could even throw Sean Lee in the mix. And the secondary is go with Chidobe Awuzie. If they can bring back Byron Jones, then that secondary will be set. However, I think they really need a defensive tackle. That interior run stopper, Javon Kinlaw, has been fantastic this year for South Carolina. Really see his stock rising. Big fan of his, and I think he'll continue to rise. But I think the Cowboys, if he falls to them, will get a brilliant player here. With the 22nd overall pick, I have Raekwon Davis from Alabama going to the Colts. I have him listed as an interior defensive lineman because he can really play that 3-4 end position or that 4-3 defensive tackle position, whatever you need him to do. He's very versatile, very athletic, a great run stopper like Javon Kinlaw, and a great pass rusher as well. He can get to the quarterback, kind of a worse version of Derek Brown, just a little more athletic. So I think the Colts are going to get their guy here. They do need interior defensive line. I've seen secondary from them. I've really seen a lot of needs aside from linebacker or uh, or edge rusher. But I really like this pick, and I think Raekwon Davis will be a good fit in Indianapolis. With the 23rd overall pick, I had the Vikings getting Bryce Hall. They would love to get their hands on a guy like Javon Kinlaw or Raekwon Davis, but both those guys were just taken. So in this mock, they're going to have to settle for their second most need. I know that was bad English. Bryce Hall, cornerback from Virginia, really good player, more of a zone guy than a man guy, but still very versatile and great ball skills. So I think the Vikings are going to find a really good player in Hall. With the 24th overall pick, I have the Buffalo Bills getting their wide receiver of the future, Laviska Shenault, out of Colorado. Josh Allen needs a wide receiver, man. This kid could be so good, and this Bills team could be so good with that fantastic defense if they can just get their hands on a playmaker, and Laviska Shenault is that guy. His stock is falling, and that's because Colorado's not utilizing him right. They're utilizing him as a decoy, which sometimes works, but also you want to get the ball in the hands of your playmaker. So why not pass it to Laviska more? He's not really getting the receptions or targets that he got last year. So I feel like that's a huge reason why his stock is falling, but he's still so talented, can really do it all. He's very quick. He can run those slants, but he's also good at those deep posts and out routes, a very clean route runner. So I'm a big fan of Schnault's. This pick scares the hell out of me because then this Kansas City offense would be absolutely ridiculous. They're just missing their running back of the future. Yeah, you could argue Damian Williams is good. You could argue Shady McCoy is good. But really, how much longer is LaShawn McCoy going to last? And is Damian Williams really a franchise running back? Jonathan Taylor is. He is so good, so talented, hits those holes hard. He has great vision. He waits and waits and waits and then hits the hole. That's what I love about him. Reminds me of Le'Veon Bell almost. But he's not going to be overlooked like Le'Veon was. He's going to be taken in the first round. Just such a good player. So much fun to watch. And I'm a really big fan of his. With the 26th overall pick, I have the Dolphins getting their offensive tackle of the future. Obviously, Alex Leatherwood is no Laramie Tunsil, but he's still good. He good pass blocker. Two really good offensive tackles over there at Alabama. But regardless, I think that Alex Leatherwood will be a good fit in Miami and kind of help this Miami rebuild, if you will, and get their key offensive lineman of the future. With the 27th overall pick, I would normally have the Packers going Tylan Wallace here, but unfortunately he tore his ACL, so he's not going to really be able to participate in the combine, which is going to drop his draft stock. So I think they're going to get their tight end of the future. Jared Pinkney has been fantastic at Vanderbilt this year. Really good pass catcher, kind of on the smaller side, not the best run blocker, but Aaron Rodgers loves his weapons, and he needs as many targets as he can get. Obviously, Davante Adams is fantastic, but that's about it on that team. So getting a versatile tight end will be fantastic for this Packers team, and I really like this pick. With the 28th overall pick, I have the Seahawks getting their edge rusher of the future, Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State. Really like what I've seen from him so far this season. He can not only get to the passer, but he can also stop the run. Very versatile. Big fan of his, and I think he's doing great things at Penn State. I think his stock will continue to rise, and the Seahawks will get him. I'm not going to do trades yet, but in my mind, there's no doubt that the Seahawks are going to trade down, and like they do in every draft. But I really have to pick them in the first round because they do have a first round pick. Like I said, I'm not mocking trades, so if they had to pick in the first round, I'm going to have them taking Yetur Gross-Matos. With the 29th overall pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens getting Dylan Moses, linebacker out of Alabama. Fantastic player. Tore his ACL at the start of the season. Just saw on Instagram today that he's running again. That is insane after a torn ACL. So talented, can cover. He's a great run stopper. Really going to be the leader of this Ravens defense. Really the only hole on that defense after losing Kenny Young. So if they can have this leader and young star on their team, that's going to be a steal of the draft. With the 30th overall pick, I have the New Orleans Saints getting their wide receiver to go alongside Mike Thomas, Jalen Reagor out of TCU, a speed burner. Not the best route runner, but he can really do it all. Catching wise, and he can run those slants. Not as effectively as the other guys in this class, but also a guy that's great on the deep ball. So I really like this Jalen Reagor, wide receiver from TCU, and I think he'll be a great fit for Drew Brees in New Orleans. With the 31st, I can't talk. With the 31st overall pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers getting safety Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. I really like this match. Xavier has played very well this year, great zone cover, and can also come in the box and run stop. If you saw that LSU game, they were running 6 defensive backs on the field, and he was playing that linebacker position. So obviously very versatile, something that the 49ers need, especially if Kwan Alexander can't come back fully healthy next year. But regardless, I think Xavier is going to be good for that secondary, give them a little help. And like I said, can also play that box position. This pick scares me, frightens me, but I feel like after getting destroyed by Lamar Jackson, Bill Belichick is wondering, what is he missing? Why can't he be what the Ravens were on that Sunday night game? And I think he's going to pull the trigger on Jalen Hurts. Great running quarterback, but also a great passer. I think he's even a better passer than Lamar was coming out of college. Maybe not as clean of a runner, but can still run those read options whenever you need him to. I really think this is going to be the quarterback of the Patriots' future. It is a scary thought to think what Belichick will do with this guy, but I am a huge fan of this pick, and I think it's going to be fun to watch if this plays out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's mock draft. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy it, please leave a like. And if you want to see more mock drafts, please subscribe. They come out every 1 to 2 weeks. I'll also produce other content. Check out the rest of the channel if you so desire. But that's going to do it for today's video. We'll see you guys next time.